Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Digital LGBT Plus Global Business Summit. First, a big thank you to Canada's LGBT Plus Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event and bringing us all together online. This is an opportunity for us all to celebrate our LGBTQ2 businesses and continue to talk about the importance of having diverse voices and leaders in our business community. Here in Canada, we believe in economic diversity, and that allyship is essential to our collective success. We know how important LGBTQ2 businesses are to the Canadian economy, and that's why we will continue to offer support as we begin to reopen from the COVID-19 crisis. And together, we will continue to push for progress within our business communities to create a more welcoming environment for LGBTQ2 entrepreneurs and build a more open, accepting, and inclusive society. Over the next 5 days, I hope you take the opportunity to learn from each other and connect with other LGBTQ2 business and corporations across the country and around the world. But let's also take the time to celebrate the incredible work you do every day to advance the LGBTQ2 community and diversity. Have a wonderful summit. Thank you all so very much.
Welcome to the fourth annual CGLCC LGBT Plus Global Business Summit and Supplier Diversity Forum. I'm Daryl Sherman, the CEO and co-founder of the CGLCC, Canada's LGBT Plus Chamber of Commerce, and I'm thrilled to be taking the summit digital this year. Thank you, Prime Minister, for providing those remarks and for your government's ongoing support of Canada's LGBT Plus communities. We look forward to hearing from several of your ministers throughout the week. This year, we are providing live captioning in English, French, and Spanish from our partners at AI Media. To access the live captioning, please see the information and links below in the description. I want to acknowledge that Indigenous peoples across Canada and around the world share their territory and protect the land and water. We must all be good stewards of these gifts. We give thanks for the use of the lands that many of us may be on as we come together this week. And we ask all of you to join CGLCC in making a commitment to reconciliation for Indigenous peoples. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Premier of Ontario, Premier Doug Ford, to offer some welcoming remarks.
I want to thank organizers of the Digital LGBT Plus Global Business Summit for putting together this great event and finding creative ways to bring your members together. I say it all the time. We have some of the best and brightest minds anywhere in the world right here in Ontario. And those who are tuning in from other parts of Canada or the world, I hope you have the opportunity soon, once this is over, to come see the great things that are happening right here in Ontario. I know that you would much rather be gathering in person to compare notes and share innovative ideas, but these unprecedented times have allowed our entrepreneurs and innovators to become even more creative and more resourceful in adapting to the new environment we face. You're finding opportunities to not only build or rebuild your businesses, but to inspire one another. It's that kind of spirit, the Ontario spirit, that will get us through these difficult times. Thank you for continuing to be trailblazers in Ontario and beyond. Enjoy the
Thank you, Premier Ford, for those remarks. CGLCC is a national organization supporting LGBT plus businesses from coast to coast to coast. But the Chamber's home address is in Ontario and in Toronto. So it's now my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of the City of Toronto, Mayor John Tory, to give a few remarks and greetings on behalf of the city.
Thank you.
And may I just say again, a word of welcome joining the Prime Minister and the Premier to all the people that are attending the virtual LGBTQ plus summit meeting. You know, it is incredible the contribution that is made by business and professional people who belong to this organization, and to the creativity, to the success of business generally. And one of the things I hope will come of this is not just an opportunity for us in government to get to better know these businesses and to procure from them and do business with them, but also for this chamber to move more into a partnership with the Board of Trade, for example, in Toronto, so that it becomes much more a part of the overall business community and is able to share in the benefits of being plugged into that infrastructure, but also the other way around, so that that board can share in the benefits of being more closely associated with this organization, because the creativity, the determination, the surmounting of obstacles of all different kinds that a lot of the businesses that are represented here have faced over time is something that I think would be beneficial to all business. We're working hard in the city of Toronto, as I know are other cities across Canada, to make sure that the reopening of the economy after the pandemic can be as successful as possible. A lot of it is just getting out of the way, but it's also doing things like making expanded patios available so those who are in the restaurant and food business can have a fighting chance, and making regulatory reform a reality. You know, it's that old expression, never miss the opportunity to take advantage of a crisis. And this is the chance for us to automate and digitize and make less burdensome some of the regulatory requirements that we impose on businesses. I want to say one final word, which is to thank you for being part of the continuing struggle, because as we've seen with some of the demonstrations this week, we are doing relatively better in our country and in our city and across Canada at being respectful and eliminating old forms of discrimination. But we're not all the way there by any means, as people know. And I just want you to know that you have a solid ally in the Mayor of Toronto in continuing with that work, because I think it is part of the advocacy work that this organization does as well. And I just think that's an important part of what we're all going to be doing together. So I hope the rest of the summit goes very well. I thank you very much for all that you're doing. I want you to know I showed up on Saturday in the Village here in Toronto and patronized 2 or 3 of the shops, O'Grady's and Fuel, and dropped into the Glad Day bookstore just to show my support for some of those businesses that are facing struggles like everybody else. But brighter days lie ahead. Have some hope, and you have my support always. And Daryl, back to you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Mayor Tory, for those remarks. The City of Toronto has been a great partner of the CGLCC over the past several years and has been a leader in working to advance supplier diversity in Canada. So thank you. And thank you for your continued support of LGBT businesses. We really appreciate it. Great. I also want to take some time to recognize and thank all of our sponsors who have made this 5-day event possible. Our presenting partner, TD Bank Group, our gold partners, Export Development Canada and EY, our silver partners, Business Development Bank of Canada, BMO, Global Affairs Canada, RBC, Scotiabank, and Sun Life Financial. Our award sponsor, Kellogg's. Our session and friend partners, AI Media, Bell Canada, Crestview Strategy, TELUS, and Staples. And to all of our other event sponsors, thank you. You can find a link to the complete list of all of our sponsors below in the description of this and every session. There's no doubt that these past few months have been difficult on everyone. The impact of the COVID-19 crisis is undeniable. I would guess that most of us have, in some way, been personally impacted. I have family that have been on the front lines of this. I know many of you who have lost friends, lost loved ones, lost colleagues. But we find the strength to overcome this. We find support in our communities, in our networks, in our families. I am so amazed with those who have showed leadership in this time of crisis. Like all of our governments, rolling out programs in weeks that would normally take years, implementing support mechanisms for Canadian businesses of all sizes, and consulting with organizations like the CGLCC to ensure that none of our businesses are left behind. Like our corporate partners who have continued to support diverse-owned businesses and organizations like ours to ensure that they can continue to operate and support Canada's economy. Like so many of our suppliers whose actions have helped to protect and to save lives. I'm talking about business owners like Jim and Chris from Hoax Couture, Christian from Boutique Troisième Âge, from Kathy from Redwood Classics, and each and every other supplier that has stepped up during this crisis to help our communities by producing PPE, sanitizer, ventilators, whatever is needed. Their ability to quickly adapt, to innovate, to solve problems just reinforces the critical role that our diverse business community has here in Canada and around the world. And like my team, like so many of you, I've had to ask them to make sacrifices, and they have. But that didn't stop them from working long days, very long days, over the past several weeks to not only put this stellar program together, but to ensure that we continue to do all of the amazing work that we're doing. So to my entire team, Dale, Consuelo, Krista, Alex, Colleen, Leah, Dan, thank you for your dedication and your passion. In these times of uncertainty and unrest, it's never been more important to bring us all together to learn, to connect, to celebrate one another's differences, and to drive change. And change is what is needed. LGBT+ people of color are some of the most marginalized people in this country. We are committing to using our influence and the power of business to help create that change. I announced last week that the CGLCC will be launching a People of Color Advisory Council to ensure that we are listening to and acting for a greater representation of LGBT+ community members. You'll hear more about that throughout this week. I am so excited about the content that we have lined up for you over the next 5 days. We have 45 sessions, over 70 speakers, over 700 people registered from over 20 countries around the world. I hope you're as excited as I am. The theme of this year's summit is the power of connection. So take that to heart. I encourage each of you, over the course of the next 5 days, connect with other delegates. Each day, we have dedicated time in the programming for networking. So use that networking button on the left side of the screen to send messages and video chat with others. Just make sure you don't do it during a session, as it will take you out of the session and we don't want you to miss anything. And be sure to visit our virtual exhibitor section, where many of our LGBT+ businesses and corporate partners have booths. The reality is that this is a digital event, and although we did no shortage of testing, there is still the chance of technical issues. So if you do experience any problems, please use the chat that you'll find in the bottom left-hand side of the screen for live assist. You may recall that when you registered for the summit, registration was free, and that's because we wanted to make sure that content and programming was accessible to everyone. But since we don't want to deny anyone, those of you wishing to contribute, you will find a donate button in the description of every session just below the video feed. So for those of you that can, I would ask that you make a small donation to help us continue to deliver important programming to support our LGBT+ businesses. Thank you to all of the speakers today and throughout the rest of the week. And thank you all for being a part of this summit. Our next session, an economic update with Andrea Gardella, will start in 2 minutes. You must click the session on the left side of the menu to access that session. Thank you again, and enjoy the summit.